Hi, this video is to discuss with you, Mark, how to go about installing this mortise lock. And basically what we have here is, if you've seen this, this is a mortise lock case. Cylinder up here, trim down here. However, in this application, we're doing it as an upside down, and this has literally been built as an upside down lock. Your door is a right-hand door. So your stop works will be up at the top, your deadbolt will be at the bottom, but otherwise it's a normal mortise lock. So first of all, inspecting all of the piece parts that we have, what I first notice is that the bevel on the armor front is obviously wrong. So loosen this screw and you'll be able to tip that armor front to give you the proper 0-degree bevel or 3-degree bevel, whatever you're doing. That's obviously way incorrect for a right-hand door. That needs to be tipped back this way. So this is what would be called a government 86 prep. That means that the prep is going to be, and what I would use in the field would be a Porter Cable 513. I think that's the part number. They're mortise pocket maker. The machine that you clamp on and you just crank it like this and it works perfectly. It will give you the pocket for the body if you own that tool. Then you would use their 517, I think, to do the 8-inch by 1.25 face prep. And that depth, just put your caliper on that to come up with the depth. It might be, whatever. I'll pull the caliper out in a moment. 8-inch tall, 1.25 wide. Okay. If you literally looked up the term government 86 or 86 edge, you'll be able to easily find a template for that. And the lock from Accurate, literally, I mean, there's nothing included with this. The caliper is telling me that the depth of the faceplate, 0.225, so basically a 1/4 inch deep, okay? What you need to determine is what's the distance from the top of the door or the top of the shelf down to the pocket. Being mindful that you don't really want to disturb anything that's the style and rail construction of the door. You're probably going to want to have that lock prep down a little bit lower. Also, thinking of the height, and here's the temporary knob, by the way, where your hand is going to have to fit to make that turn. So not looking at the pictures of the lock itself, of the door itself, if you've got a right-hand door, you're going to need to think about, well, if that shelf is hanging out here, where do I want to place that? So that's really the thing that you're going to need to decide. The center line of the lock body, from the top of the door to the center of that 4-inch prep. Okay. So determining where you're going to locate this from the top of the door to the center line will have to be a dimension you come up with. The important thing to note is this relationship. The center line of the faceplate would be 4-inch. It's not going to be the center line to there, to here, to nothing. The center line of the lock body is 4-inch. Happens to be, somewhere about the latch. Now you're going to get a strike plate. The relationship between the top of the door and the center line of a mortise pocket is X. That same dimension on the frame, when you take the tape measure and butt it up to the underside of the header and come down to the center line of your strike prep, which is 4 7/8 in this case, is a 1/4 inch less than that dimension. You're going to want to reality check all of that. But the inside of the header to the center line of the strike plate is a 1/4 inch less than the top of the door to the center of the 86 edge. Okay, you're going to obviously put this on there and you're going to do a reality check. You're not going to mortise anything until you determine where the center line of that strike is going to fall out. And you'll notice that you've got a small hole and a big hole. Obviously the big hole is for the deadbolt. Okay, This is a little longer than standard because I understand we have a little thicker door than standard. That lip length is going to be about 1.5 inches maybe. Yeah, about 1.5 inches, indeed. So 4 7/8, 1.25 inches wide up at the top. This will come with a dust box, a steel dust box. By all means, use that to give us a real clean sort of look on your installation. Okay, so a couple of dimensions there to consider. You're going to do 2 preparations for your lock body. Do the body, just, from here to here, add the tolerance for the screw here and here. You obviously want to stay away from, when you remove these 2 screws, the armor front will come off. You'll have access to the screws for this, which the screws are included. Okay, there's 4 of them, 2 for the strike and 2 for the lock body. So you'll make a preparation for the body of the door. You're then going to come back and do the plate only, just the thickness, 8 inch, 1.25 inch, perfect. Square the corners, you're done. Don't do anything else. Now, because there's no template, you're going to have to measure when you get the bevel set on this. And be mindful that if you were dealing with a beveled door, back set of which this lock, the edge of the door to the center of the hole, this is a 2 3/4 back set. You can see it's just a bit shy on that dimension. Why? Because that beveled edge. If you hook your tape measure to the inside of the door, if it's beveled, that's the high side, and you mark 2 3/4, and you do the same thing on the small side of the door, those holes are going to miss each other. The back set is measured from the center of the thickness of the door to the center of the hole. So you will have to lay out the location for the cylinder, outside only, from your perspective. You're on the outside, this door swings in. Location for the cylinder on the outside only. Location on the inside only in this hub for the fancy thumb turn that we put together for the client. That key stock's going to go right into that hole. You have to locate that outside only. Pardon me, stop. Inside only for the thumb turn, obviously. Then your preparation for the spindle is going to go through the door. Now, speaking of the spindle, you're going to get the spindle from from Baldwin. The portion with the little notches on it, that is going to go from the exterior side. You'll feed that through. Then your installation will stop at those notches. That spindle is set that way so those knobs can rotate independently of each other, obviously. So you're going to need to locate that hole. You're going to need to then come with the mounting plates that will go over the spindle prep. These plates are literally going to be attached to the door with the screws. You're going to have the washer that you'll end up using. Actually, you won't use it for this job. These are the rosettes. So you're going to, if you can imagine just what the knobs will look like, they're going to look like this. And they're going to go over, oh, you've got adapter plates with this. That's why you lay everything out first. This bad boy is going to have adapter plates. So you're going to thread this adapter sorry, I didn't prepare to make multiple takes of this video. Yeah, Terry. All right, I'll see you guys at home. Your plate, your adapter is going to go on there. How's that going to work? So all that's going to go down to the door. You'll thread that down. They give you a, wait a minute. Hold the phone. We're doing that backwards. That adapter is going to go like that with the spanner notches on the outside, but it's going to thread down to your disc. You are literally going to get a spanner wrench for this purpose. You will tighten that all. Okay. And of course your knob is going to sit into that hole and over this and finish that look off. Okay. It's going to help get you all centered on the door. So you're going to have to do some layout, some dimensional, determining where everything's going to be laid out, because we've created a hybrid of this Accurate lock and the Baldwin trim, which Accurate does. They'll do it for anybody's lock. Hardware in the White House, that's Accurate. They're in Connecticut. I had Accurate make me a lock, a Mortise lock for the Qatar International Airport, the international terminal in Doha, Qatar, in the Middle East. $7,500 was my cost on the lock. It was a Mortise lock that required 2 cylinders present to open the door. 2 keys. So think of a nuclear launch that you see on television. Well, that's what those people made for us. So you're also going to have these black anti-friction washers. Absolutely use those. Absolutely. You'll get the spindle put into the Mortise case. Then you're going to bring your knob, and they're not threaded. You're going to get that one knob put down as good as you can against its washer and tighten the set screw in the base of the knob. Then hold that one side and bring the next knob in from the other side and hold it as tight as you can and try to tighten the set screw so the knobs are nice and tight, but that they still rotate, but not so loose that it all moves. It is a balance. Too tight, it doesn't work real well. Too loose, doesn't work real well. Have Loctite with you when you're doing this. Loctite everything, especially the set screws that will be in the base of the knob, of the Baldwin knob. What I generally do when I install a Mortise lock is I'll leave the case loose, the screws here, just 1 or 2 turns loose, so I can get the trim on, get the cylinder on. I can get my finger inside of here and kind of lift the case as I'm trying to carefully thread the cylinder on. Get it all on there nice and loose so that everything works. And once you know it works, then I'll do that final turn on the screws in the edge. That's just how I do it. But it works for me, and I've been installing them for a long time. The cylinder that you're going to get, you're going to want to be real careful not to cross thread anything. Actually, we are short one piece, and now that I am making this video, I know what it is. There's a wave washer. You know what? I'm going to see if I can get a wave washer. So I don't have a wave washer here right now. I have one coming in, and we'll send it with the 2 knobs. The wave washer will sit inside of here, and that will it is a washer that's very thin and literally profiled like a wave, so that you can adjust this. Just be really careful when you are installing, obviously, these 2 together. That's an incredibly fine thread. I have to really channel my inner ninja when I do this, my inner door expert, and don't force it. There we go. Now, because the lock's upside down, so must the cylinder be. So be mindful of that. The key will have to go in upside down. It's the only way to make this work. Outside of that, we've talked about all the lock hardware with the exception of the temporary knobs, the Baldwin spindle is too large to fit inside this threaded hole. Back these screws out, get a drill bit, ream that out, whatever size it's going to need. For sure 3/8. For sure 3/8. Much better. Ream that out, tighten your screws, toss these knobs when you're done, obviously. Okay, then the last thing to show you is going to be the Dutch door quadrant. A real simple piece of equipment. It's going to mount on the lower leaf like this when it's in the unlocked position. You will mount the strike plate on the upper leaf. It's got a hollow back to it. And you're just going to take this puppy. You're going to rotate it up. And that T knob on the back is going to engage in the slot in that surface mounted strike. And you're in good shape. That's how this works. This is what it looks like in the unengaged position, lower leaf. You'll see these shown in photographs like this, and sometimes you think, well, maybe that goes on the top leaf. No, it's meant to go on the bottom. I've also seen them installed this way, and the strike is obviously installed surface mounted. So whatever, that's how you're going to install the quadrant. That's called the quadrant. Classic, elegant way to attach a Dutch door. I found a patent application online from 1959 on Dutch door on a quadrant. I don't know. It's hard to believe that that would be the first occurrence of a Dutch door quadrant. That exhausts everything. I don't think I've made any errors on anything or omitted anything. You know, measure twice, cut once. That's the only thing I can tell you. It looks like that door was not cheap. You know, router, obviously. You know, it's 1.25 inches, so, you know, if you've got a 5/8 bit, you could do that easily. Whatever, you know, 1/2 inch is what I would use on everything. If you don't have the Mortise machine, you can, and you will see installation instructions that say, okay, take a 1-inch fly bit and hit that sucker. You know, all those times, hit it, and then clear everything out, chop it all out. You can do it that way, and it'll work. And if you take your time, or if you're good, it'll actually look pretty good when you're done. And then you just got to do the faceplate. But ideally, you're making that pocket with the 513 Porter cable. I'm pretty sure that's the part number. I've only owned 100 of them. Any questions on any of this, please let me know, and we'll put our head together and come up with a better plan if necessary. Thank you very much.